Hey, welcome back to Home Studio Pro, and this time around, I'm actually hoping you will not notice that I'm using a teleprompter. In fact, here's proof. And when you think about it, right, isn't that the whole trick about using assistants like this during your presentation? To make it seem like you're actually not using it. So, in this video, 6 total tips, including the most important one coming your way last. By the way, my background in all of this is more than 20 years as a presenter on television. I would guess that 95% of my total broadcasting has been done off the cuff, and maybe 5% has ever been read off a teleprompter. And while I don't necessarily prefer it, I do certainly see a purpose for it, and I've got a lot of experience to share with it here in this video. So let's begin with number 1. It definitely helps if you're reading something you actually wrote, and preferably if it was formatted to be spoken out loud. That, as opposed to something that was written like a novel would be. Anybody who's written copy for television knows that sounding conversational is key. The words you choose, the pauses you introduce. It's important to write in the same way you would sound in normal conversation. And you know what? With that said, no offense to the teleprompter, but for the sake of this video, I think I'm done with it. I'm going back off the cuff. I don't want to do this thing entirely off the prompter. You got enough of a sample. By the way, you can quickly see that I'm simply doing this with my iPhone right below the camera. That is a very cheap and usually efficient way of doing it. It would be better if I had the one-sided glass with the reflective mirror, put the prompter on the bottom, have the glass right in front of the camera. Then I could look right at the lens. Instead, I'm looking just below it, but I'm not sure anybody could tell. Anyway, I digress. Number 1, write conversationally. That's going to help you, and like I said, especially if you're the one who wrote your own copy, as opposed to reading somebody else's words. That's always going to be different and difficult. See? And now I'm not perfect because I'm not reading. Number 2, give your script, give your copy a once-over. Whether you wrote it or not, whether somebody else did it for you, whether you did it a week ago or 5 minutes ago, it's only going to enhance your copy and make it sound even more conversational the more times you just go over it, read it, small changes, and do this either for rehearsal or to make those minor alterations. I'm telling you, sometimes just the crafting of a different word or a comma in a different place or a ... And we'll talk about pausing later, which is so necessary. You're going to write so differently than you would for a school paper, a book report. There's writing for reading and there's writing for speaking. Obviously, we're catering to the second half of that. So definitely give your script, give your copy a once-over. And if you can, read it off the prompter for your once-over. Focus when you're reading on sentences, not individual words. So it gets difficult. It gets monotonous if I'm looking at the prompter here and looking one word at a time. Try and take the bigger context of each sentence at a time, maybe even each paragraph at a time. If you focus word for word on such a small screen and surface area like this, you are inevitably going to sound, number 1, robotic, or number 2, potentially get lost in what these words sequentially actually mean in the bigger picture. So try and focus on the bigger scale, not word for word. That'll help in your reading and in your smoothness. Okay, pausing and pacing. This is still so very important to come across as natural, and the big way you do it is to pause and pace yourself with a natural delivery. I don't think anybody speaks like a machine where they are talking like this over and over without any pauses or breaks in sentences, and then it is just a monotonous run-on. I don't even know what to say, but you understand my point there. Naturally, when I'm talking to you, I'll pause. I'll think about it. I might even stumble over a few words. That's fine. That lets you know that I'm human. You know, certainly there is a time and a place and an occasion for getting something absolutely right, nailing it. And I've got a whole separate video on when and why you would want to use a teleprompter, not just tips on how to perform with one. But as you read, pause and pace to the writing. Set yourself up with the writing so that it pauses and paces you properly. And then when you execute it, make sure that you're actually giving those pauses. It gets a little bit too easy to get in a flow with that teleprompter. And now the one I'm using here, I should have pointed this out, is automated. The phone is hearing me and pacing out the text for me. You might find yourself in a more advanced studio situation where somebody with a dial, with a knob, is actually running your teleprompter, or you, with a foot pedal, are running your own teleprompter. Don't try and just chase that pacing. Have it chase you. Have the teleprompter keep up with you and your pacing. Don't be the one to follow the pace. If you're doing it right, you're leading the pacing. The person or machine or whatever that is running the text is keeping up with you, not the other way around. So there you go. You got that phone? I'm pacing you on this one. Okay. Number 5 here, know the controller. And that's a big part of this. What is running the teleprompter? In this case, it's the phone, hearing my words, processing it, going with the text, and keeping that blue line up to pace of where I'm at in this script and what I'm saying. Sometimes it could be a human, right? So maybe you could even have a chat with your prompter operator. Hey, I'm going to go fast on this part, or I might read this a little bit more slowly, or I'm going to take a break in this one, just so you know. If you can have that communication ahead of time, whether you're live or whether you're performing something for a recording, communicate with the prompter operator. Let them know. But also for you as the presenter, know who and what and how this prompter is being controlled. That's very important. Okay, last, but 1,000% the most, right? This is last, but definitely not least. No matter what you're doing with a prompter, especially if you are in a live environment where there's no second takes, second chances, there's no going back. If you are relying on the teleprompter for all of your script, for all of your content, all of your performance, always have a paper script ready. You know why? Because that paper script is not going to run out of battery. The screensaver is not going to go on. The prompter operator is not going to lose you on paper. That paper is always going to exist right in front of you. The chances of it failing are 0. Actually, 99.9% success rate. There's that 0.1% chance that the wind blows it away. But that's a totally separate problem. The paper backup during a live environment is so critical. I've been here before. Trust me, during a live show. You know what? Don't need the script. I've got it on the prompter. I'll be good. I get halfway through the script and the prompter, for whatever reason, fails, disappears, goes in reverse, screen blacks out, whatever. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. It's technology. Yeah, I'm talking to you. No offense. You can screw up sometimes. Always do yourself the favor of having a paper script nearby. You can refer to it. You can quickly catch up with where you are. It is a fail-safe in something that is inevitably bound to go wrong at least once in your presenting career. So hopefully you stuck around in this video long enough to get that last and most important tip. This has been reading from the prompter. I think this is something important, right? Not a lot of people have experience doing this. I do, because I've been in television for more than 20 years. I've got tons of experience. And like I said, I've actually grown to prefer not using it. But there are some situations where I do think this is the perfect tool to get things right when you need it. So hopefully that helps. Thumbs up on this video if it provided you some value. Also, don't forget, subscribe here to this channel, Home Studio Pro. You know I've got lots more great stuff coming out your way really soon.